you are enough. You've always been enough. Hey gorgeous humans, and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all doing really good. So this video is on self-acceptance and how to accept yourself while you're acknowledging that growth is needed in certain areas. So if you like what you're about to hear, go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe, all the fun stuff, and let's get into it. So for me personally, for a really long time, I wanted to grow. I acknowledged there were a lot of things I didn't like about myself, that I didn't like how I was showing up in a lot of situations, and I wanted to change that. I think that for a really long time though, I was approaching the idea of growing and the idea of developing from a place of essentially self-loathing. I basically really didn't like myself a whole lot, and it showed, and I would typically be trying to change at the behest of other people. Someone else would say, oh, I really don't like this about you, and I would sort of scramble to try and make a surface level change, and none of that was sustainable. None of that really stuck for very long because it wasn't authentic to me as a person. At the start of this year, so 2022, like I've said in previous videos, I kind of made a commitment to just work on how I see myself, work on my self-concept. I just wanted to kind of like myself a little bit more because there wasn't much of that going on. One thing I found was that as I just sort of began to work on my self-concept and like myself and love myself more and more, I found that I was then suddenly willing and able to put time and effort into other areas of my life that needed work, because all of a sudden I was approaching it from an angle of, I love myself and I deserve the best. Let me show up in the best way for myself now. And it was really odd. I didn't plan any of that to happen. It just did. And so the way I see it is that self-acceptance and self-love precedes growth. It's really easy to be like, oh yeah, I will love myself when I've grown to this point and when I've reached this new level and when I've reached this new height. But actually, it can be really hard to sustain actions towards a growth that you don't believe that you necessarily deserve, or you don't love yourself enough to give to yourself. And that was what I had found for years, and I think that was the one thing that made the difference for me this time around, was that I just focused on loving myself first. I didn't really have any of the other stuff in mind. Growing in love for yourself when you see all of these flaws and all of these things that are inadequacies and imperfections and stuff like that can be really hard. I know for myself that I thought for a really long time that I wasn't going to be able to love myself until I'd achieved XYZ goal or reached certain milestones, and for as long as I wasn't reaching those milestones, I wasn't necessarily deserving of that love. The irony is though, it was actually in loving and liking myself and learning to do that I found it a lot easier to show up for myself consistently, because it's like, yeah, no, I deserve that. I deserve to be able to show up for myself consistently. I'm worth committing to, so I'm committing to myself. Self-love and self-acceptance is so empowering. Self-love makes you want to show up as the best version of yourself at a moment in time, because you know you can and you know you deserve it. Self-love makes you compassionate with yourself when you do make mistakes. Self-love helps you to see your mistakes as learning points rather than personal failures that then define you. Self-love puts you in a position to meet your own emotional needs, because you're not seeking anyone else's validation to prove to you that you are deserving of love. You're already doing that for yourself. Self-love leads to self-actualization. So how do you get to the point where you love yourself, flaws and all? For me, it comes down to one thing: acknowledge that you are enough. You've always been enough. Even if you haven't been able to see it, that doesn't change the fact that it's true. You're enough on the days when you feel like you can absolutely take over the world. You are also enough on the days where getting out of bed might be the hardest thing you have to do. When we try and attempt to grow from a place of feeling deficient, we set ourselves up to fail, because it's really, really hard, like I've said in previous videos, to show up as anything other than we believe ourselves to be. It is so important to come to terms with the fact that you are enough. It is so important to get comfortable with that idea and really sit with it until it resonates. And when you start to love and to like and accept yourself, you figure that you deserve the best, and then you find ways to give that to yourself, and that is the best part, and that is where the growth is. And learning to love yourself is an aspect of growth in and of itself, so no time is wasted there. Some ways to practically do this, you already know what I'm going to say at this point. Remind yourself who you are. Compile some affirmations that will remind you who you are and that you can revert to anytime you find yourself sort of forgetting a little bit. Some of the ones I really like is I am enough, I'm committed to myself, I am able to show up for myself, I'm willing to show up for myself, I'm consistent. Things like that. Things that represent the person that you wish to continually show up as. And should you catch yourself slipping into a state of like not liking yourself as much, or self-judgment, don't be hard on yourself for slipping into that. Just catch yourself when you can, take a couple of deep breaths, and again, go ahead and remind yourself who you are. With time, it becomes more natural. But yeah, I just wanted to say all of that and just remind you that you are loved, you are incredible, you are amazing, and you deserve to go through life with that full understanding. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it's been helpful. If you've enjoyed it, let me know down below. Give it a thumbs up, don't forget to subscribe. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.